and welcome to Let's Make a Sci-Fi RPG Part 7. We're flying through these. In the last episode, we had some issues with Unity crashing a lot, and we tried to get the player shooting properly, which we had some issues with that as well. Now, in I don't know if it was 2 or 3 videos ago, I said that we were going to be coming up to something cool and fun, and I wasn't going to spoil what it was, and I kind of forgot how far ahead it was. I think we're getting to it now. So this is a test scene that I have made within the project, and we're going to try and set up something fun. So I'm going to get bring the player in, and we're going to shoot some enemies. Make sure that they die, and then we're gonna do some cool stuff. So it might be a bit difficult. It's certainly something that's a little bit more advanced. I had to look up how to do it and try and follow along with some tutorials. So we shall see how I get on. So we're just going to make, because this isn't really the particle sandbox I used just to set up the laser shooting. So this is just another one because I'm doing something different. I don't know why I could have used the particle sandbox really. Excuse me. So we're going to bring in an enemy. And also, people might notice that the player test script is still here. I did say I thought I deleted it to fix a problem I was having with Unity crashing. The problem wasn't that it existed; it was that it was on the particle itself. And that was the issue. So I just took it off the game object that it was on, and that stopped Unity crashing. I didn't actually need to delete it. I think I do eventually because I never use it again. But if you're wondering why, but he said that was the issue, and it's still there. That is why. So we're bringing in. Oh, there was a little teaser of what we're trying to get done. I can't remember how to do it. This is the thing. I didn't even know how to add it on to set it up. We are going to try and add in a ragdoll effect so that when the enemy dies, it ragdolls around and it looks really cool. I was thinking about this the other day, actually, about the ragdoll, and I suddenly thought of, you know that thing in Family Guy, if you watch it, they had the advert for those inflatable men that you see usually outside like a car sales place that have like the tube men with the flailing arms, and it was wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man, and that got stuck in my head because none of my friends used to be able to say it when we were younger, and I used to be very good at it. Wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man, wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man, wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man. Hi, I'm Al Harrington from Al Harrington's Wacky Waving Inflatable Arm Flailing Tube Man Warehouse and Emporium. And due to a mix-up on a shipping order, I am currently overstocked to Wacky Waving Inflatable Arm Flailing Tube Man, and I'm passing the savings on to you! It was quite fun. They also did one for their Star Wars their Star Wars episodes, and I can't remember what it was. Something proton-powered advertising droids. When I thought of ragdoll, I just thought of the wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man. And I can't figure out how to add a ragdoll. It's not here. It's not a component. I thought it was a component. It is not. So I spent ages just looking, where is it? Surely it's in something like physics, or, is it a visual effect? Not really. Is it rendering? I should have known as soon as I tried to type it in and it didn't turn up that this wasn't where you find it. It's in, I don't remember which June. We just go to the script. What are we doing? What? Am I wondering, do I have to Do I have to add like scripted in? I don't. I mean, I know we don't. But we will have to code it to turn on and turn. Well, I'll turn off because it'll be dead. But the tutorial I looked up did show how to turn it off if you wanted to reset it and then reuse the same character again. So you could reset the T-pose. Am I going to do anything in this? On particle collision. So I don't have an on particle collision. So it seems like you can use this. And if it's on an object that has a particle system, it will detect what that particle system collides with. Also, it will detect any particles that collide with this object. So that's how I'm going to do the. I think I end up changing this to like player laser or player particle, so that if it gets hit by a particle, we are going to set has been hit to true because I have this here for taking damage. I put this in. I spoke before I was having issues with when I killed one enemy, it killed every enemy that was in the level because they were all sharing health. So I'm not. I think the way I fixed that was adding in a current health. So they have health and then they have current health, and you're decrementing the current health. But I just left the has been hit Boolean in there as well because I wasn't sure which one was actually fixing the problem, but something fixed it. And now when I kill an enemy, just one enemy dies and the rest of them still have full health. Which we shall see. We shall see. We're just going to test it. I'll need the weapon. So, come on, load up. Come on, load. It's not working. Well, that's the end of that recording because it didn't work. But now it's working. So I have it paused there. It has hit the enemy. We're looking at the player laser emitter. Don't worry, I haven't done. Oh, have I? Oh, I hope I haven't done the ragdoll yet. Because it'd be cool for you to see how it was done. So very quick character reference, quick rig, ankle effector. I think this all came in when I imported the enemy anyway. So we shoot, it hits the enemy. We're looking at the enemy. Current health is 5, so the health is not going down, so he's not being killed. And there's no nav mesh in this scene, which is why the enemy looks like he's trying to walk towards the player, but he is not moving. So back to my code. On particle collision, we're trying to decrement the health. Enemy health, enemy on trigger, he's fine. We've got all this set, a load of stuff. I could probably current health is equal to health equals to 5. So the start, you're setting the health to 5 and the current health to be equal to the health, not the health equal to. Oh yeah, health equals current health on the update. No, current health equals no. I'm just taking that out. Okay. Because you want its health always to be the same. You want its current health to go down. And then when the current health is equal to 0, you kill it. I guess health you could also call max health, just to make it a little bit clearer as to what that actually is. Void take damage. Is that being called anywhere? If current health is this current health equals to health, if that's when it is true, then you're okay. Well, we're just taking that out. because this is that bottom was the only damage we need, the on-particle collision. So there might have, I think maybe there might have been some issues with too many taking damage functions and none of them working. So current health is still 5. Health is equal to 10. Let's see if it'll actually play this time. It does. Keep an eye on the current health of the enemy. I need to go into the player variant to give him the weapon. Give him the weapon. Check the enemy. We're going to keep an eye on health and current health, which is down the bottom there. Health goes down, so health has gone to 0. But the way I have it dying is current health needs to be 0. We can see that he's taking damage from the particle, so the particle collision is working, which is good. But this, go back down here, go back down. If current health is less than or equal to 0, yep, that's right. So we die when current health is less than or equal to 0. But when we're damaging, we're only damaging health, not current health. So we need to fix that. We need to change that. And I hope I do. I hope I figure that out. Oot in a boot. Hey. Come on. It's not that difficult. I was only doing this a few months ago. There we go. Current health. Excuse me. Current health. Decrement that. Save it. Try it again. So today I was also doing some work on Player 2.0. I'd recorded a video where I had sculpted it, so we have one, and at the end of that video I brought it into Maya, and we were starting with rigging it, and now I'm having massive issues that I've never had before. So enemy died. His health is still 5, but his current health is down to 0. So that works. So instead of him just being turned off when he dies, we're going to want to add in a ragdoll effect, so that he wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube men around. Tube mans around. Now, hopefully I figured out how to add a ragdoll. Okay, so we're going to duplicate them. So first of all, I'm going to be smart and check to make sure that killing one only kills one, doesn't kill the other 2. I know I did get that working, so we're kind of hoping that is working now. So check health, current health, shoot one. He's dead. They're still alive. Move over, shoot that one. He did. Can't see the third guy, but he's there. So we'll move over. Not sure if I'm hitting him. There, he's dead. Yeah. So I can kill them all individually. So that's pretty cool. That's working. Sorted. So the player shooting we fixed, because we were having issues with that the last time. We're also having issues with the enemy shooting. I don't think I've gotten that fixed yet. I really need to get back into the project and see where I've left off. At the minute, the most important thing for me to fix is the player, to get a new player 2.0 working, and then get in and do the other little polishy bits. And I will be making a list of stuff to work on. So let's just, I'm not doing anything here. What am I? Oh, here we go. Okay, perfect. So game object, 3D object, ragdoll. That's where you find it. It brings this up. Then you go into your enemy, and you got to find all the joints that come in with it. And this is why naming the joints is important. So this is, you just basically drag and drop the hip joint, which would be see, it here is called pelvis, but in most other places it would be like hips and then left stuff. So you can just, match them up as much as possible. I think I put in too many bones. I put in more bones than they need for the ragdoll. So we put in the ankle is the foot, and then well, I guess for the foot you could put in the toe. But I think in the tutorial I was watching, it was the ankle bone that they put in there. Because you've got the hip, the knee, then the ankle. That's all you really need for the ragdoll, I guess. And you do the same for the right leg, and then the left arm, right arm, middle spine, and head. And you can mess with this kind of stuff. I don't really know what it does. Flip forward, I don't know what that does. But I just leave it at the default to see how it works. And I think it works kind of well. In my humble opinion. So we got the elbow, and then we got the middle spine, which here would be, we've got the neck, the head, where you got our spine. So if you click on them, you'll see where they are. So that's the neck. So put that in for the head. So I just need the middle spine, which would be probably spine 3. Spine 3 looks like it's kind of middle-ish. Maybe it's a bit high. Spine 2. Spine 1. Spine 2 is the middle spine. So we got that in there. So they've got all been done. And then you click create, and you'll see you get this. So all these like different colliders on it. So if you just check, you can see it's got all on the legs. Doesn't have anything on its feet, really. I'm just going to hit play and see what happens. Turn the animator off, because the animator will not. It won't work well with it. Oh. And he's dead. Now that thing that was moving over, rolling away, that was the nav mesh agent, I think. So that's fine. If you have the animator on and you play it, just to show you what happens, there is a conflict, and you get kind of he's like he bounces around the place, which is not ideal for the effect that I'm going for. Like when he's dead, you don't want him to be like bouncing around. You just want him to die. So what we need to do is go into our scripts and then code it so that when he's alive, the ragdoll is not active, and when he's dead, the ragdoll activates and the animator deactivates so that they don't clash, and then he will fall. Rigid body fall. Ragdoll fall. Rigid body, Jesus Christ. And the way the ragdoll works is every joint that we've added has a character joint and a rigid body. So this is what is causing the ragdoll effect. We don't need to really worry about these or change anything on them, but we do need to reference them in script. So we will do that. I don't think much else happened. I think I'm still just watching that tutorial. What do we do? I'm saving it, and then we will go on to the next one. An exception has been encountered. Yay, great. So we are in the enemy controller script. Will I do a new script, or I've done a new script called Ragdoll Controller. I've created it already. Cool, that's smart. And now we're gonna make it work. So we're gonna get a list. So what we gotta do, a list of vector 3s. So a list of positions, basically. We're gonna call this list child positions. So it's the position of all of the joints that have the character joint and the rigid body on them for the ragdoll. We're also going to get a list of rotations, so that's what quaternion means. We're going to call it child rotations, so the same thing, we can get what rotation they're at. Like I said, the tutorial that I followed for this was showing you how to turn it off and back on. I think the rotation is... This might only be needed to turn it all back on, but I just took the whole script because I wasn't sure which bits needed to be... I just wasn't sure. So I just took everything and it just used the bits that I needed. I never reset it. So the list of positions... So this list is equal to a new list of vector 3s, I would assume. Vector 3s and child rotation is going to be a new list of quaternions. And then, because basically we're saying this list exists, but it is nothing right now. And then we're saying at the start, this list is going to be a new list, and then we're going to populate this list in the, I want to say the update. You don't really need to do it. Oh, you do need to do it every frame because he'll be moving, I guess. So get T pose. So this was basically just getting all of the... This is how you're populating the list, if I understand this code correctly. So it's you're getting an array of transforms, which is a position, so it is a vector 3. You're going to call that children, and it's going to be get components, plural, in children, of, I would assume, transforms? Yeah. So you're getting all of their positions. And then we do a for each loop. So for each object, now this is where things get confusing. So I'm going to see if I can explain it as we go along, because for each loops kind of confuse me. So for each variable trans, that uses just any name, so transforms basically in the array. So for every object that has a transform in this array, we're going to say that child position, which is this thing, the new list, dot add. We're going to add the trans dot local position. And we're going to do the same we're going to add rotation, trans dot local rotation. Yeah, because your transform looks after your position, your rotation, and your scale. So we're basically saying for every object that has a transform for every object that has a transform in this array, we're going to add the transform.local position to the list, this list, and probably this list. Child rotation. Yeah, so those are the lists. So that's you're populating those lists. So now that list, each of these lists is filled with the position and rotation of the ragdoll objects. So then you're turning it on. So we're going to create a void for that, and we need a bool to say true or false. So we're going to get an array of rigid bodies, because again, every object, every joint has a rigid body. And only the ragdoll joints have the rigid bodies. The original bones that came in don't have rigid bodies on them, so that's why this will work. So you get an array of game object rigid body. We just call it bodies. You could call it rigid bodies. You could call it whatever you want, and that's equal to get the components in children that have rigid bodies. And again, the only components, like child components of the enemy that have rigid bodies, will be those ragdoll bones. So for each rigid body that you get in bodies, so for every variable, the rigid bodies dot is kinematic is always going to be the opposite of ragdoll. Yeah, this is, I kind of understand this. This is what confuses me. Is kinematic. So basically, if this is true, this is false. That's what this line means, I think. But my understanding of is kinematic is that if you set a rigid body to kinematic, it means it can't move. So you're setting the rigid bodies to kinematic. So if the ragdoll is on, if the ragdoll is true, then they're not kinematic. Is kinematic is false. Right, yeah. So if the ragdoll is turned on, then is kinematic is false, which means that those rigid bodies can move, so they will be affected by the ragdoll physics. And then if you set all those rigid bodies to is kinematic is true, so that those rigid bodies can't move, then it means that the ragdoll is false. Okay. So it does make sense. It confused me the first time. I hope that makes sense. And that's just an easy way of saying if this is true, this is false, rather than actually going is kinematic is equal to true. If is kinematic is equal to true, then ragdoll is equal to false, and if ragdoll is equal to false, is kinematic is equal to true. You can just say is kinematic is equal to the opposite of ragdoll. And we'll see how this works. So you'll see once the scripts have compiled and we can actually, Unity catches up with me, we're going to put the script on this guy. Can't add script. The script cannot be found. What do you mean the script can't be found? It's there. Huh, did it not save? Did I not save it? It's there, it's right here. Did I not save it? What is the problem? Oh yeah, they don't like spaces in the name. And if you change the name of a script in your project, you have to change the name. Where are we going? In the ragdoll controller, you have to change the name. There. And that already did it, so it can't have a space in the name. But if that name and the name and the character in the script don't match, then it won't work. So we're going to add the script to him. So he's got a ragdoll controller script. So that means it's not really going to work yet, but we're getting there because we need to actually say when you die, turn on the ragdoll. So we're going to make a public bool so that I can just test it in the inspector. Tick, tick. Ragdoll controller. This is the script. So we're accessing the script this way. And then we're going to go down to the player dev. Or I'm just not going to make it public and I'm just going to assign it in the start function. Okay. Oh yeah, it doesn't need to be public. A public bool would be better so that I can tick it on and off. This is just the getting the script. And we go down to enemy death. So if it's if the health is less than, or if current health is less than or equal to 0, instead of just setting the object to false, we are going to ragdoll him. So we would say ragdoll controller dot. We did a public void, so it should be ragdoll controller dot turn ragdoll on, or whatever we call that function in the script. We'll find out. Ragdoll controller dot. Nope, it needs to be the smaller. Smaller. Come on, go back. Ragdoll, that one, yeah. Dot ragdoll on, true. That should be enough to. Okay, this is just something that I've decided to do. I don't have. This is me getting confused about how to add forces again. I think if we were to go back up to the top of the script, we'll see that I never actually declared the rigid body. Here, like I would have done with the animator. Like we've got the animator, the enemy move, the trigger, and the ragdoll controller. So what I need to do is put in a rigid body and call it like rigid body, same as I've done with the animator, anim, ragdoll controller. I would need a rigid body. And this will be the rigid body that's on the actual enemy, and it will only be that one, so it won't access any of the ones in the children. Where are we at? Did I do it there? I didn't. I was trying to get comfortable. I wasn't paying attention. What am I looking for? Well, we're going to play it anyway. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do eventually is add some force so that when he dies, we'll just add a little bit of force to the rigid body so that he doesn't just collapse. That meant that the animator was on and the ragdoll was trying to happen. So in the ragdoll controller, should be over here, I would need to set the animator to false, disable the animator here. So anim, which is the private animator, dot set active. I don't think that's right. Set active. Dot set. I've used this so many times. Anim dot set active. Come on. Or just anim dot enabled. Okay. Two false? No. Anim. But here's the question. Is okay, so we're doing this. Anim's able to get component animator. Okay, yeah, because this script is on the parent object, so it's on the enemy. So this is getting the enemy's animator, and that is what is conflicting with the ragdoll. So again, it's this. So if the animator is enabled, then the ragdoll is not. So this is the opposite of this. So if the ragdoll is enabled, then the animator is disabled. Okay, it makes sense, but I do have to stop and think about it for a while just to make sure that I understand what's going on. Okay, we're going to try it again. So he shouldn't just fly off. What's he doing? Nope, he's just flying off. Okay. He shouldn't just fly off. That's his database controller. Well, how are things starting out? I guess in the start we're never saying anything. Ragdoll on is false. Yeah, there we go. So that means that the animator will be enabled and the is kinematic on the other rigid bodies will be true. So now he shouldn't fly off. There we go. So he's just trying to get to me. So we can go to our player, give him his weapon, and when we shoot, we're just going to, just collapse all this back down so it's easier to see, and the player, and we'll should be looking at the enemy really, and we're just going to shoot him, and ragdoll. So that works. So I think that's kind of cool. And that is where I stopped that recording. So we're on to the next one where we're still testing this out. Let's see. So I think we might even. So we're going back in here, back into our scene. For why? I'm guessing we're going to test it in the scene. There are my enemies. here's the thing. Did I? It looks like I did. Okay, I was just going to say, did I save the ragdoll? Otherwise, I would have to go in and do it for each of them. But if I saved it back to the prefab, they'll all have the ragdoll thing on it and the ragdoll controller script. He has 2 on him for some reason. That might end up being an issue. I'm just going to drag and drop the waypoints back in so that they'll do their patrols. And we're just gonna. You don't need to see me do that. We're going to do it for all of them. They all have 2 ragdoll controller scripts on them. That's odd. And then we're going to test. Will I get an issue with that? It hasn't caused an error, but it might cause a problem. You don't always need errors to have problems. Problem like Unity crashing, maybe. Unity not responding. Let's reopen it. Ooh, go back. Go back. Okay. Okay, I thought it was working there. It seems to be. Oh, yeah, okay, it's just. Oh, my frame rate must have just tanked again. Is anything working? We're not looking at my game view. That's fine. I'm going to just see. There I am. So I've gone to collect the weapon. This guy's stuck at this waypoint for some reason. So I'm going to come around here. I'm going to kill some people. So here I come. Not seeing any enemies. There's one guy over there somewhere that I know of. But then there's like people. Oh, he's coming to find me. I need to be clicked into the game view to kill people. I don't seem to be shooting. Oh, I am. I'm shooting. This guy's been shot, I think. Something's been shot. Okay, so he went. He's gone mental. Oh no, it's like a balloon that's been popped, and he's just yep. They're all gone a little bit mental. Is that because of the 2 scripts on them? That shouldn't be happening, and that wasn't happening when we tested it. So, you get something working. Oh no. I'm going to shoot this guy now. Is he going to go flying off? Pew, 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 pew. Oh, I don't know. Well. And I might want to turn off their nav mesh as well. Because the nav mesh is still going. The nav mesh agent. Even though the enemies are dead. So you might want to do that. Although with Enemy 2.0 I did do something a little bit more interesting for when they die. So we're going to go into... See, I don't think it's an issue with the script. I think it's an issue with the fact that there's 2 scripts on the object, because I wouldn't have changed anything. If it was working when I tested it. Why? F-can see player enemy move. Yeah, so this is why the enemy's still not shooting at me, because I've commented that out. So we're just trying to get the other stuff to work. Oh, we've also added a force. this was what I was trying to do in the last recording, was rigid body.add force and a negative vector 3 dot forward, so it's going backwards. I just want to add a backward force so that when he dies, he's like he's been thrown backwards, and then the ragdoll comes on at the same time. Nah, bro. Nav. So I might be just turning the nav mesh off here anyway when he dies. So okay. You cannot set the nav mesh to. Interesting. So then is it enabled? Is it that thing enabled equals false? Is that what I've been doing with other things? Equals false. Yeah, okay, that seems to work. I don't know why sometimes it's dot enabled equals false and sometimes it's set active and then in brackets true or false. It seems on unawake we want to enable it. Yes. Dot enabled true equals true. Interesting. If anybody knows why sometimes it's dot enabled and sometimes it's dot set active, please let me know. Comment below. Always interested to learn, especially when it's things that I don't know. So let's test it again. We're actually going to watch the video this time, the game view. So that's pretty cool. So we're going to play, and that means I can actually see my frames per second, because in that last video, or in that last test, it seemed quite low. So we're just let it load, let it load, let it load, let it load, let it load. Has it crashed? I think it has. Nothing seems to be working. Oh, here we go. It just took a long time. So we're back down to 4 frames per second. That's interesting. I wonder why that is, because we saw in a previous video I was up at about like 40, 50 frames per second after I'd done some oh, well, there it is, 50. Okay, it's back up. Okay. I don't know. So we're gonna grab the weapon. And then we're gonna go shoot some guys. Just gonna maximize this because if my mouse goes outside the game window and I click, I then have to click back into the game window for anything to work. Click into the game window. Oh, now it's 3 frames per second. Jeez, it's not liking that. One dead. Pew. And I just think it's cool. I mean, they drop like a sack of potatoes, but you know, 1 frame per second. Oof. And then there should be one left somewhere. There he is, coming towards me. Start shooting him. Start shooting him. I obviously clicked outside of the game view. Oh. It's really not liking this. I feel like it's crashed. I feel like it's crashed. Has it crashed? I think it has. We're on to the next one. Oh, it's just started there. Okay. Just gonna turn this off because there's, I don't even know what was on in the background there, but there was something. Okay, so we got that working. Now I'm back in a particle sandbox. This is what I had set up to test the particle effect. I brought in my enemy. What I'm trying to do is, this is shader graph, and I'm trying to set up a dissolve effect so that when the enemy dies, the ragdoll will kick in, the enemy will flail about, lie on the floor, and then rather than having just dead bodies lying around, I'm going to have it dissolve after a certain number of seconds. So that way then once he's dissolved I can just destroy the game object or turn it off so that it's not rendering it anymore. So that's just another way to bump up my performance a little bit. So we shall see how this works. Brackey's YouTube channel, he has a great video on the dissolve effect in shader graph, and it's actually the one that I watched to figure this out. I say figured out, basically I just copied him. So check that out. Like he's got some amazing videos up there, where he actually teaches you stuff, whereas I just make you watch me faff about and try and figure stuff out for myself. But still, everyone has their ways of doing things. So shader graph again is a node-based thing. So if you saw the videos that I did with the VFX graph, similar kind of stuff, and you can get some cool effects using shader graph, like force fields and dissolve effects and that kind of stuff. So, and again, this is my first time using shader graph. I've never used it before. I was a little confused. I think it will show that it was just not very good the first time. Anyway, so we've got our PVR master node. We've got a sample noise coming in, simple noise coming into the alpha channel, and that's what we're going to get the dissolve effect out of. So that's going to determine how it breaks up. So we can change that to change the amount. Although I do just seem to be not doing much. Okay. Yep. Nope. Okay. I'm going to change this. Okay. Make it a little bit easier to see. Okay, so we're just going to work through this. So we can see what we're doing, much easier. And this preview will obviously preview the effect. That's the whole point of a preview. Although I've found that when it works on this, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work on your game object. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Come on. Don't quite know what I'm doing. We're getting very close to present day me. So you can turn them transparent. There is absolutely no need to do that for this. Two-sided it should be, because when he dissolves you want to be able to see the back of him. That's just very weird. Rotate it. Yeah, okay, that's cool. You can rotate it around so that you can see the full effect, but you don't want it to be transparent. I think you do want it to be two-sided though. Yeah, we're getting very close to present day me. So having said that, once I got the beta build for this done, I started doing other assignments. So it has actually been a while since I've done any work on this sci-fi RPG. So that's the effect. That's basically all you need. We do add a little bit more to make it look a little bit cooler. But like literally you're putting in a vector 1 through the alpha clip threshold, and it's just kind of it is going using the noise to like slowly turn this transparent. But we cannot. I mean, we could automate it. We could animate it through that, I guess. It's just there's more to do with it, though. So we're going to convert it to a property. It means it would appear up here and we could mess with it in the inspector. We're going to put in time. Okay. And a remap node. Don't really know what that does. Again, I'm just following a tutorial, so I think the remap node kind of what would it do? Remap? It's between -1 and 1, so that's basically the same as a sine wave. So it animates it out and back in, so it's it's using sine of time, so it is a sine wave. So that it just kind of oscillates. It animates it in, animates it out. That is cool, except we do not want to animate it in yet, or we don't want it to be going back and forth. So if we just want to dissolve the guy when he dies, we just want it to animate out. So we don't need the sine time thing. But right now I'm just following the tutorial and trying to get the effect to work and then add it to the enemy, and then I can tweak settings and get it kind of the way I want it to be. So first of all, I just need it to work. If I can get it to work, that would be ideal. So then we're going to put in a step. Again, I don't know what all these nodes do. And we're going to put in the remap node. So excuse me. And this will go into, emission. We need a color. Interesting. So an add node. What are we adding? And where are we adding it to? So 0.01. We're gonna no. So I'm gonna put that into the remap node. That's where two-sided comes in handy. So you'll be able to see, as it dissolves out, you'll be able to see the back of it, which is cool. You can see it there. So this is going into the emission. So we're still using the noise. We're adding 0.01, bringing in the sine wave. I think this is just making the edge, like the dissolve edge, that's what this is for. So that's probably what, like, we're adding 0.1, so we're kind of making the dissolve edge a little bit thicker or brighter. And we're going to add in a color. We're going to multiply. Okay. Multiply the step, which seems to be affecting the edge. That's the only reason that I think that that's affecting the edge. We're going to multiply this by a color. HDR color, so that's going to be red. And then if we put that into the emission, that gives us a red line. Okay. So I think if we increase this, it will increase the size of the edge. So I think that that's what that is. I'm sure. I say I'm sure. I know Brackey explains this a lot better than I do. But again, this is my first time using shader graph. So there's a lot that I am not familiar with at the moment. But I do have ideas for stuff to put into the game that will use shader graph. So I will hopefully get a lot more practice and experience with it. So shader graph and visual effects graph will play a big part in the level at some stage. Right now, I just kind of want to get the basics done. So this is called edge color. That's this one here. So we can edit that in the inspector. That's cool. So that means that any changes we want to make, if we wanted to make any, we don't have to constantly come back into shader graph and change values here. We can take certain values and make them properties that are editable in the inspector. So this is going to be called the edge width. So if I'm right, that should be like this, right? Defaults to 0.01. So that is this. So then we just plug that into this. I think the reason that my mouse keeps popping off is that I have YouTube open on my other monitor, and I'm kind of going back and forth and playing and pausing, and it's great. What I might do is I might link the Brackey's tutorial below if anybody's interested in actually understanding what all this was. He will explain it a lot better than I will, and then you can get an idea for what I was doing here and the reasons for all these different nodes and stuff and what they do. But I seem to write the edge width, so but he'll be able to explain what all this does. So I'll if I remember, note to self, link that down below. And also you should check out his other videos if you're interested in game dev, because he does do a lot of really cool, interesting Unity videos and shader graph videos and stuff. So check him out. And then tell him that Alo sent you. And I mean, it's not going to make any difference. He doesn't know who I am. So we're just putting all these in. Defaults are there. That's fine. I changed that default. What am I doing? It's 0.5. And you'll see the difference that made. So it's like the edge is massive. So that's too big. 0.05. There we go. But at least that gives you an idea of what this stuff does. This part here is just to do with the leading edge of the dissolve effect. And as I said, now that we've made it a property, we can just edit it in Unity in the inspector, and just changing the noise default to 50, so you get a little bit more noise. You get a little bit. So I mean, you can tweak all these values to make it look however you want. So we've got all them. That's basically the whole effect. So it's pretty simple one to set up if you know what you're doing, or if you're following along with the tutorial. I think just kind of, what did I do? I deleted that. Pourquoi? This is me going off the tutorial, like coming away from where he finished, because I only needed to fade out, like dissolve out, so I don't need the time remap. So I'm going to make this a property that I can edit in Unity that I could then either animate or change using code, so that it just goes out and doesn't come back in. So this is just me changing it myself. We're going to make this a property, and we'll just name this dissolve time, I think I called it. Is it dissolve time? Yeah. And default it to 0. So then from 0 to 1. 1, it'll be fully dissolved. 0, it is not dissolved at all. And that we save the asset. I think Visual Effects Graph does an auto update thing. Doesn't seem like Shader Graph does. That's what your preview is for, I guess. That'll just make sure. There we go. And we have a dissolve effect. Do I go back into Unity and try it? You see I've messed around with my layout here. This is my VFX recording layout, which is strange. Anyway, I guess I don't test it yet. You'll just have to wait until next time, because I'm going to leave the video here. So thanks very much for watching, guys. If you liked it, please hit that like button and share it with anyone you think might be interested, and then consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon so you can keep up to date with all the craziness that's going to be coming up. And don't miss out on how this is going to end, this whole project, because even I don't know, but it's exciting. So thanks very much, guys, and I will see you all